Hi everyone, my name is Nathan Wright. I am a full-time artist based in Des Moines, Iowa. I primarily do illustration, which means that I draw for a living. It's my job to draw cartoons and illustrate all sorts of fun things. So that's who I am. Today I want to do a quick lesson on how to create your own cartoon characters, how to draw them, all shapes and sizes, different characters from your imagination. I'll be sharing two of mine that I've created, and we can work on those together. You can follow along as I draw, or just watch. Let's talk about the things you'll need today for supplies. So definitely some sort of pencil or colored pencil, um, some sort of black pen or like a Sharpie, something like this, where we'll be doing our line work, and then any sort of color that you want to add at the end. That could be colored markers like these, or even crayons would work too. You're going to need a sheet of paper or two, or maybe 4 or 5, depending on how much you create. And then you'll also need some sort of eraser. I've had this since college, so that is over 2 decades old. That eraser is very old. It's seen better days. So those are the things you'll need. Let me introduce you to the characters that we're going to draw and work on together. Um, we're gonna learn how to draw like a little kid. So for this example, her name is Eleanor, and she's the star of a book that I wrote and illustrated for a bank, Iowa. And you'll see her in the book. Here she is. She loves to do math. So that's Eleanor. We'll work on her. And the other character is Fatberg. And he's a giant, blobby, yellowish sewer blob. Fatbergs are formed in the sewers. This is a real thing. When wet wipes, flushable wipes, stick to other things like cooking fat, and they form these big fatbergs in the sewers, and they block things up, and it's really disgusting. But I decided a couple years ago to write a story about it, and so that's Fatberg. He's been in a couple of books that I've done now. So we'll draw him. He's fun to draw because he's just a big blobby shape. So we'll start with Eleanor. I'm going to switch over to my screen share. Today I'm drawing digitally, just because it's easier to kind of show you how it's done, and it's just a more clear way to demonstrate drawing to you. So I'm going to switch over to that here in a second. Okay. So let's start by getting out your pencil. And we're just gonna start drawing Eleanor. Remember, she's a little kid. I don't know, she's probably 5 or 6 years old. So what I like to do, if you're drawing a little kid, is start with the head. And when you're drawing a child, you always want the head to be bigger, sort of almost like exaggerated bigger than the rest of the body. So there's the head, just a nice round shape there. And then you'll see how it is in proportion to the rest. So now I'm putting kind of just sketch, and we're sketching here. So you see how rough these lines are, and they're not perfect. We're just using the pencil. Instead of one line, that's never going to be perfect. So I kind of like to just sketch it in like this. And then you sort of start to get this nice shape going that you can come clean up later. That's where your eraser will come in handy. So we're just using our black pencil here to build out shapes. So I'm putting her torso together here now. She has kind of an oval body. And again, this is exaggerated. So that's the great thing about cartooning, is you can really make up these characters, and they're shapes and how they look, however you want them to be. So I'll put the legs in next. And I've drawn her a number of times, so I kind of know, generally in the back of my head what she's gonna look like and how to put things together here. So we've got her legs and her body. And again, if you have parts that you don't like as you go, you can just kind of use your eraser and come back, clean up. Remember, it is still in the sketching stage here, so we don't need to be perfect. We're just getting the shapes down. And then maybe she's got her arms out kind of like this. She's got her hands on her hips. So you can do this too, like just draw, just to get the shapes and the directions down, you can even draw kind of a stick to begin with, and then we'll come back and add more detail. So let's say she's wearing a sort of a puffy sweater, probably comes down to here. She's always got a sweater on in my other drawings, so we'll add that. You see how so we started with these kind of stick-like lines, and now we're adding just more dimension to it. And then you can come back with your eraser and kind of just clean things like this up. So then we've got it a bit more where we need it to be. Okay, let's go up to her. So we have the shapes down pretty well. Some things I'll fix later there, but let's get her face down. Let's start with hair. She has lots of curly hair, so I'm going to start adding a curly, spirally hair in here and add that shape. And see, we can just go right over this. This line will be covered by hair later, but we'll just do this now. We'll come back and work on that with our eraser. Again, really curly hair. When you're doing cartoons, like a lot of the personality of your characters come from their haircut. So be thinking about that. What are these characters like in your imagination? And then what can you add to really bring that to life? Is their hair spiky? Is it curly? Is it wild and flowy? Or maybe they're just bald? Who knows? So you see I've got the shape of her hair down now. Maybe a little bit back here too. And then you can come back. So you made that round head, so you know where the top of it, and you know that hair, it doesn't just sit flat on the top, it pops off a little bit there. So that's why you get that line down to get the shape of the head, and then you come add that, build that hair over top of it. Okay. So there we go, I'm happy with that. Now I'm gonna add her face, so I'll start with the nose. She has a very small nose. Again, after this, you can go, you can try drawing her, Eleanor, and then you can go create your own little characters. Maybe it's a little boy or one of Eleanor's friends, and you can make them all sorts of sizes and shapes. But this is just a lesson to kick off, to give you an example. And she's always got a little smile on her face. So we'll add that. And then her eyes, we'll just add 2 little circles here in her pupils. And eyebrows are very expressive. So when you're creating a character or showing what emotion is on their face, how they're feeling, are they happy or sad, the mouth and the eyebrows are very, very expressive. Just see how different she looks when I change her eyebrows to something like this. Now she looks like she's up to something, or she's going to get in trouble, right? Or about to get in some trouble. So we're going to put these back. But keep that in mind when you're drawing your cartoons and how you want your characters to look and the emotion that they're going to convey. Okay, so I'm happy with that. That was my pencil work there. So now we're going to shift over into ink, black ink. So again, take that black ink pen or black marker or Sharpie or whatever you have, And now we're going to add the actual line work over top of this pencil. And then at the very end, we can come back and erase what's left of the pencil. So we'll start here. I'm going to zoom in on her a little bit. Oops. Get my version of a Sharpie going here. And you'll see I'm going to go right over top and start to create my own lines here. And you'll notice these lines aren't as rough and sketchy as some of the other ones. That's how I like to work. You can still be really loose here if you want. It's totally up to you. This is just an example of how I work. Add some little spirals there. Again, curly hair. Maybe a little piece there that's sticking up. Okay, so you see your hair's coming together. We're just kind of tracing right now. You're tracing your own work that you did. Getting it just the way you want to. So now we're gonna, oops, I don't quite like that line. So you may have that too. You might have lines that that aren't perfect or you're not okay with. When I'm doing digital drawing like this, I have the advantage of an undo button. When you're drawing on paper, you don't. And that's one of the things you lose when you draw digitally, actually, is sometimes mistakes really add up to a nice picture. So it's okay. It's good to be okay with mistakes. Okay, now I think I have that the way I want it. So we'll continue building her hair here. Her hair is very fun to draw. So there's her neck. And again, she has this big poofy sweater. So I might actually poof that out a little bit more. Comes down here. And I'll add a couple more lines like this to just kind of show the texture of that sweater. It must still be cold where she lives because she's always got this sweater on. Okay, there. And so you remember her hands were kind of on her hips here. So we'll draw that in. Little fingers there. And then down to the rest. Draw the legs in here. And okay, we've got her. Oops, forgot the face, got to do that. And the rest of the hair here. So we'll draw her a little smile. The nose. Not happy with that eye there, so we'll do that again. Oops. You might already be thinking what color her sweater is going to be. It can be whatever you want. I'm going to do blue, but you can create anything you want here. Okay, so I've got her pretty much the way I want. So what I'm going to do now is move to the color phase. But before we do that, I'm going to erase some of this pencil work. So get out your erasers, and then what you can do is come back onto your drawing and just start removing some of that, just to clean it up a bit. And again, this is drawing for fun, so it can be messy. You can even leave the pencil. You see how I'm just kind of cleaning it up there. So that's how she looks with all the pencil gone. So now you know, oh, maybe there's a few spots to clean up here. Maybe a few more curly hairs. You can do some more refinement here. Okay, so we will now move over to color. So get out your markers or crayons and pick a color. We'll start with her sweater. So again, I told you I was probably going to do blue. I think that's about right. Every time I've drawn her, she's had a blue sweater. So we'll stick with that. So then you just come back in and you start coloring inside the lines. And it's okay if you go outside a little bit. That's totally fine. It happens to all of us. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I'm just using sort of a watercolor marker here to fill in the color. And then we can come in and add another sort of layer of that color to show a little bit of shadow there. That gives her extra dimension and some extra, makes your drawing a little bit more interesting. Add that. I don't know if you can see that. It's not too much darker. There we go. So you add shadow and then it kind of shows how light comes from this direction and hits that sweater. And then these edges are always a little bit darker. Okay. So how'd you do there? Did you go outside the lines a little bit? That's okay. I can, since I'm doing it digitally, I can come clean it up, but you don't have to do that. These are all just for fun and for learning. So for her legs, I think I'll do sort of a grayish color. So we'll add that now. Yeah, that looks good. Get down to these little shoes here. Let's clean it up a little bit. And then again, the same thing with shadow. We could do that here as well. So maybe she has a little shadow underneath her too. Okay. Now we'll complete the face. So this is me just choosing colors here. I'm looking over at my reference here to try to get it to close to what I had in the book. Okay. We'll just carefully go in there. I tend to do this. I just kind of come in around the edges. Let's get that down. Go around the eyes there. And nose. Cool. All right. I think I like how that looks. I'll add a little shadow here. And here. And can't forget the hands. Awesome. And then for the hair, I think I'll go, she has very dark hair. So I'll add that in now. You can make the hair color anything you want. We're just having fun here. Yep, this looks pretty close. Okay, so I'll add that in. It's curly, you can really have fun with this and keep it wild. This part always takes the longest because she has so much hair. Almost done here. Okay. That looks good. So I'll add maybe just a little bit more shadow here and come right over top. Maybe just add even a little bit more texture. Not everything has to be a black line when you're drawing. You can explore a lot with color like this to get the shape you want and the textures you want. Okay. I think she looks good. Let's move over to Fatberg. I'm going to draw him next. And remember, he's a large yellow sewer blob. So we'll get back to it here. Get your pencils back out. We're going to draw Fatberg now. And remember, we're going to start with just a sketch. So let's put him over to the right. And he's going to be a little bit taller. If these two characters were to meet in a story, and they haven't yet, but if they were, he would actually be a lot taller, but just with my screen here, or my sheet of paper, if you will, he's going to be a little shorter, but that's okay. So Fatberg, again, is just a big blob of stuff that hangs out in the sewer. So he's a little bit easier to draw in the sense that he's just kind of a big, gross, sort of pear-shaped thing. Doesn't really, he's blobby, right? So he doesn't really have much shape. So here he's coming together. And he's got these little legs, these stumpy kind of feet, like this. And he's got these little arms. So his arms can be doing whatever you want. In fact, let's fix that. Let's make him waving hello. So he's met Eleanor for the first time. We'll just say that's what's happening. So his hands are kind of like mittens. I always draw his hands like mittens. Just adds to that sort of blobby character that he has. His other arm thing is over here. Let's get that shape down. Fatberg always has a hat. He always has a jaunty hat on. So I'll add that. We'll add his eyes here. He has, let me erase that. He has kind of smaller little dots for eyes. This. And he's happy to meet Eleanor, so he's smiling and saying hello. So we're going to open his mouth up a little bit more there. And remember eyebrows. So we'll make sure his are happy as well. Okay, so I'll erase what I need to here. And there he is. Okay, now let's do the next part where we come back in with your ink pen, your black. So go ahead and get that back out, and we'll do our tracing again. Tracing right over top of the pencil. Okay, there we go. And he's bumpy as well. Remember, he's a sewer blob, so you can have a really fun, interesting, non-perfect line here, just to show that he's made of a lot of clumped together stuff. Actually lets you draw a little bit faster. Get his mitten hand going here. Again, he's waving hello. If you want to show motion, like a wave, like you do that, that kind of indicates that he's. I like to, when I draw Fatberg, I like to add all these other little sort of lumps around him. So we'll get his face in here. Happy little face. And then we'll make sure we get him finished here, and we'll draw his hat. You can give him a different hat if you want, or you can just kind of follow this one. Okay. All right, I'm happy with those guys. Add some more detail. I always kind of just add a few things like this around him. Okay. Now, Fatberg is orangish yellow, so we'll go over and erase it, go back to your pencil and erase what you want or whatever you're happy with there, or leave it. We'll come back to color, so get those markers out or those crayons, and we'll finish him off. And he should go pretty fast because he's really just one color mostly. Oh, I forgot, he wears a tie. We got to go back and add a tie. Hang on. It's a green and white striped tie. We're gonna add to him. I'm just gonna put it right here. He's always wearing this tie, so we gotta include it. All right, I like it. Okay, now back to color. Right where we were. I'm gonna choose a color here. So pick up what you have. Maybe you have something orange or yellow. Try to get close to it. That looks like a nice, gross, sewer, blobby yellow there. Maybe a little darker. Okay, happy with that. You might be way ahead of me and you might already be filling him in. And that's okay. Fatbergs form in the sewers when too many wipes are flushed. Wipes are found in a lot of houses. And in fact, right now, with a lot of people staying at home to keep themselves and their families safe because of the coronavirus, a lot of people bought a lot of wipes and they're flushing them more than normally because people are staying at home. And the wipes are different than toilet paper, actually. Toilet paper breaks down in sewers. So like within a couple of days, it'll dissolve and it won't clog anything up. But these wipes that come in packages and they're usually wet, they actually don't break down. They don't dissolve in the sewers. So that's why there's such a problem. And that's why fatbergs form. And fatbergs are a big problem for cities and sewers. You guys are getting a good fatberg lesson here today. But it is important to know the difference between wipes and toilet paper. And you should actually not flush wipes. You should just throw them in the garbage can. Otherwise, they'll stick together in sewers and they'll create these guys. And they'll back everything up. And then that's an expensive problem for your parents to have. I'm just going to clean him up here. Now, he's a happy fatberg, but most of them are problematic and you would want to avoid them. But he's just a fun little guy. Okay, so we'll add shadow again. So maybe something just a little bit darker to come in and show how the light hits the character. Maybe something like this. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm curious how your pictures are coming together. Let's, again, his tie is green striped. So we'll make sure we add that a little bit here. Green and white stripes. And his head is brown. Something like this. Okay, great. So there's our two two little characters. They have now met for the first time. Maybe we'll put a little bit of shadow under him as well. So those are just two examples of cartoon characters. Again, a cartoon character can be anything. It can be, you can draw a cartoon of your parents, of your friends, of real people, or you can make imaginary characters like these two. That could be an imaginary made up human, just someone from your imagination. Maybe it's an animal, or it's something that's come to life, like a Fatberg creature like this, or maybe it's Bigfoot. It's really whatever you want to be. So I hope you had fun drawing these characters. I know they turned out awesome. And I do have a quick message for your parents if they're listening with you. And since we're all trapped in our homes right now, if you've run out of coloring books for the kids or coloring pages, I actually have some that I've created. They've just been kind of sitting around on Etsy and Amazon for a number of years. So I think this is the perfect time that if you need those things, I thought I'd tell you. I have some of those and where to get them. One is, this is a coloring book I did a couple years ago. It's called Creatures and Cryptids. And it's all sort of cryptozoology things like the griffin or the Loch Ness monster or Medusa or the Mothman. So it's full of all of these things. Kids and adults both love these. This can be found on Amazon for only $10. If you don't want to, obviously nobody wants to leave the house right now, so you can go directly to Amazon. Just search for Creatures and Cryptids, and you should be able to find that. I also have a link to it on my website. I also have a version of this as just downloadable coloring pages, so you can get all the interior pages downloaded. And that is available on my Etsy shop. And you can find that if you go to my website, nathantwright.com. And I will pull that up here as well. So there's my website. Again, you can go there, and if you click on shop, you'll find my Etsy store. And right at the top, you should see the downloadable coloring pages. So again, that's even better than having a book sent to your house, because you don't have to really do anything. You just you download it, you get a PDF file, and then you can print on your own printer, and they come in 8.5 by 11, so it's a standard size. So you could have those in theory in 10 minutes from now. So those are available as well. If your kids are needing more coloring activities, I've got those things for you. So that's the lesson for today. And thank you for joining me. I'm planning on doing more of these. And I'm excited to see what everyone is creating. I hope this inspires some more drawing and creating characters of your own. And I really hope everyone stays safe and healthy, and we'll get through all of this together. And meanwhile, we just have to kind of hunker down and draw lots of pictures, right? Okay. So that is it for today. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time.